see, Tuesday I had to go to St. Thomas to see the guy a booed. It's going to be you met him, real supervisor. Yeah. So he's my electrical cardiologist. I still see St. Louis because I see him yesterday. But I had to go to St. Thomas yesterday and he told me, he said, well, you're doing pretty good. It only works 30, it's only having to work like 30% of the day.
Is he got?
He said that's pretty good.
Well, that while you sleep.
Well, yes, it's when I'm winding down, you know, because apparently I have abnormal low heart rate. My resting heart rate's in mid-40s. And it's set at, well, Beverly says it's almost 55. But when I had to go back to Thomas, he adjusted it to 75. See, I'll be sitting around watching TV, kick back, and all of a sudden,
I'll go ahead and get this meeting to started. First of all, I want to welcome everybody here. I see we got a pretty nice crowd. I like to see it more packed, but I'll take what I get. I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas and you survived the snowpalooza, whatever they call it. I don't know, but I'm glad our kids are back in school and back into a routine. They probably won't be back into a routine by Monday, so. I take pity on the teachers today and tomorrow because you know they're wild. That just happened. So, first of all, I'd like to start out with the moment of silence. Just kind of reflect on what happened in the past, welcome everybody back, and as always, looking forward to the future. I know Lawrence County school system has a very bright future going forward until the end of the year and also beginning of this summer and all that. So just keep all that in mind, and we'll continue with the pledge after that. Thank you. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First on the agenda is call the roll, please.
Caruso.
Here.
Daniel.
Here.
Dryden.
Here.
Hartsfield.
Here.
Jacobs. Mabry. Noddert.
Here.
Rochelle.
Here.
Weathers.
Here.
7 present, 2 absent.
I believe that is considered a quorum. Thank you very much. First on the agenda is a director's contract. I believe everybody has a copy of that. And before we go on, does anybody have any questions regarding the contract of Mr. Atkins?
Move that we accept as presented.
So I have a motion to approve. I have a second. Please call roll.
Caruso.
Aye.
Daniel.
Yes.
Dryden.
Yes.
Hartsfield.
Yes.
Noddert.
Yes.
Rochelle.
Yes.
Weathers.
Yes.
7 yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Atkins. You are now the director for another 4 years, 3 years?
4 years.
4 years. So congratulations.
Thank you all. Thank you.
It's a very, very honor to have you as our director. You've shown that you're very worthy, and we are very, very fortunate to have you as the director.
Thank you, sir.
Before we move on to recognitions, does anybody have anything to add or subtract from the agenda? Okay, moving on. Our first recognition today is from Nikki, is retired education. Mr. Hartsfield.
If he wants to turn around, it's supposed to be audio.
It's an honor to get to recognize this next person as the Retired Educator Award for this month. Before I call her up, share a few things with you about her. She had a BS degree from Auburn University in 1980 in early childhood education. Then she had her MS elementary education degree from Tennessee State University in 1988. Her first teaching position was she taught kindergarten 2 years in Corey Woods Elementary School, which was a city school in Auburn, Alabama. In 1982, they moved, her and her husband, to Lawrenceburg in 1982. When she came to Lawrence County, she had some, as far as getting a full-time job, when she came here, she didn't do that to start. So what happened was there were some teachers that were ladies taking maternity leaves and those type things, and some sick leaves. So Jane, she took those leaves she done that for almost 3 years. She done that in several schools, which St. Joe's was a school then, Loretta, Leoma, Summertown, David Crockett, and Etheridge. So she done that for a few years. Said it was difficult, but she said it turned out to be one of the best experiences of her teaching career, because she got to know a lot of teachers, got to know a lot of principals in Lawrence County, and she gained, she said, some much needed experience in all the certified grade levels. So then her first full-time teaching position in Lawrence County was at Loretta Elementary School, teaching kindergarten. Right after that position, which was about a year, the schools consolidated, and the next year it was, moved to South Lawrence in that part of the county. So she moved and she went to school, went to David Crockett School to teach there. At David Crockett, she taught kindergarten and first grade for approximately 6 years. Then she decided to be a mother for a while. She had 2 children, and they were born 17 months apart, and she felt like it was good for her to stay home with her children. Says when her children finally, when they started school, she actually went to work at First Presbyterian Preschool and taught 4-year-olds. She taught over there part-time. So once again, she came back into working for the Lawrence County school system, taking and working some maternity leaves for ladies, and before she was actually hired back as a full-time teacher at New Prospect Elementary School. There she taught first grade, second grade, before becoming the RTI coordinator, RTI coordinator. And as she said, as working as the RTI coordinator, she enjoyed being the family engagement coordinator, enjoyed being the family engagement coordinator, also the read to be ready, reading coach, bunch of R's there, and facilitating school and county professional development. So in 2020, she retired as a full-time teacher. And now, she said, talking to us, currently she spends time, she's back working part-time at New Prospect, tutoring reading at New Prospect School. And she shared with me some hobbies of gardening, and Jane goes on several mission trips with the church she attends. I asked Jane about teaching and some of the favorite things to share with me that she liked about teaching. And she said it was seeing the children being excited, getting excited about learning. Just helping the children become better readers. And another very important thing she said was forming those relationships, teaching with children that last years beyond the classroom. She actually said that the principal at New Prospect, Anisha Jones, the principal out there, she actually taught her in the first grade. I talked to some folks that worked with Jane, and about Jane, and these are some things that they shared with me, some comments about Jane. Jane was very respectful. She was very respected. As a teacher, she focused on her student achievements. She was fair and kind to her students. She was shared with me, excellent classroom manager. And when she was at New Prospect, it was shared that she was a contributor, a good contributor to the overall improvement and positive environment of New Prospect School. To say all that, to say this, we're fortunate in Lawrence County to have had Jane as a school teacher, and we're also still fortunate to have her as a part-time school teacher. Jane Hill is definitely a difference maker in Lawrence County school system. We thank you very much, Jane. You can come on.
Thank you. Our next recognition for tonight is a student recognition from E.L. Kaufman, Mr. Brett.
Good evening, everybody. I want you to, first off, I want to thank for the opportunity to join you guys tonight, talk about a little bit about a student of ours and Kaufman in general, but before we get started with that, I want you guys to know how much the students, faculty, and staff appreciate what you guys do, because it is a thankless job, one of the many thankless jobs in the school system, but we do appreciate what you guys do day in and day out for the students in Lawrence County. The student we'd like to recognize tonight, he's an outstanding young man. Very few people can get by in life by just one name. I mean, you've got celebrities, you got Cher, you got Madonna, and you got all kinds of folks who can get by with one name. Well, our student tonight is also one of those folks who can get by with just one name. I'm not much of a betting man, but if you go to Kaufman Middle School and you ask any of the 600 people there, you ask them who Xander is, and I promise you they're going to know who Xander is. Xander Hughes is our student, would like to recognize him tonight. Xander's been with us for 3 years. He started off with us as a 6th grader. When he came to Kaufman, he was very shy. He wouldn't talk much at all to anybody. And he was also a pretty picky eater. Says all he wanted to eat was frozen chicken and biscuits and some water. And he was a pretty happy guy. Slowly, he got to where he tried new things. He got to where he'd eat just about anything. And as you'll see in just a minute, he's taken to eating quite a bit because he's grown about 2 feet since he's been with Kaufman. Xander's not only grown physically, emotionally, and socially, but his communication skills have improved tremendously. He's gone from a very shy student to one that you really can't get to be quiet anymore. He wouldn't talk to anybody, but now if you get him talking about video games, he'll talk all day long. And movies, and he'll even greet you good morning. It takes him about 30 to 45 minutes by the time he enters the building to get to class, because he's got to do the tour as far as talking to folks and cutting up with folks, especially some of the teachers that he doesn't even have. He said he keeps us stirred up and he keeps us on our toes. See, Xander, with all of his achievements, one of the things that one of his teachers pointed out to us was a huge strength. This past football season, he was elected a homecoming attendant, and 3 years ago he would have never even considered doing that. But he was out there in front of those couple thousand folks, and he was right there with everybody else. He's funny, he's sweet. You ain't gonna find anybody that cares any more than he does. And a couple of his teachers are here with him tonight to show support. But he just offers. He's a caring guy. Just offers so much to the Kaufman environment, the Kaufman faculty, staff, and the students. These are just some of the many reasons why we'd like to recognize Xander Hughes. And his dad and Xander are here, and a couple of his teachers, if I can get them to come up. Xander?
Congratulations, Xander. Next student recognition is Ms. Tracy.
Good evening to everyone, the board members. I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Atkins, to speak and to have a chance to recognize two really fantastic students from Ingram South. When the admin team narrowed down our selection, we emailed the teachers that have formerly had these students and asked their thoughts, their comments about our outstanding students. And Mrs. Samika Swan, who is a third grade teacher, shared that Emily is a very creative student filled with curiosity. She learns very quickly and is determined to do things on her own. Watching Emily's ability to learn is very rewarding as her teacher. She is one of my all-time favorite students. And Ms. King, who is also a third grade teacher, she shared that Elliot is such a great role model for his peers at school. He is kind-hearted, responsible, and always pushes himself to be better at everything he does. Elliot wants to know everything about everything, and it is so inspiring to see his energy to learn and grow. And then their current teacher, Mr. Reeves, said Emily and Elliot are both outstanding. They take pride in their work and often compete for top scores in their classes. They are both model students and a joy to have in class. And I'm very privileged today to talk about the outstanding achievements of Emily and Elliot Crosby. And they are twins, and their journey at Ingram South has been nothing short of inspirational. It's marked with academic excellence, resilience, and a commitment to fostering positive change within our school. They are both STEM ambassadors. They promote they advocate for our school. They promote our mission and vision. They support their peers. They've not only excelled academically, but they have demonstrated remarkable resilience in overcoming personal obstacles and life challenges. And I won't go into all of those details, but both of these young folks are just, they're superior and they're excellent. So we want to celebrate these exceptional students as they exemplify positive traits such as perseverance, compassion, and resilience. They're a role model for their peers. And with that, along with their academic excellence, we want to say congratulations to Emily and Elliot Crosby for all of their accomplishments. Pictures, you ready? Okay, go get the next picture. Good. Do you want to go on teacher? Yeah, do you want to go on? Yeah, just with the family.
Nice job, guys. Next on our recognition tonight is, it is, I guess, School Board Week. Before y'all came in, you saw some gift, and I believe that's from maybe heavy school in the system, and on behalf of them and on behalf of myself, I think we got a great board, and thank you for being on the board. And I know sometimes it's tough and can be time consuming, but I think we did a pretty good job. Michael, you got anything else?
I'd just simply say the administrators, faculty, staff members all would echo what Mr. Long mentioned in his presentation. It's a thankless job. It's hard work, and you're always on duty when you're out at a ball game, the grocery store, wherever it is, because you serve a community. You're called upon at times and difficult things, but you handle it very well. So thank you all for what you do for the children and the faculty and staff of Lawrence County.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Thank you very much. Moving on, I did not receive any public comment forms, so we'll be moving on from that. And first on the agenda is consent items. Can I get a motion A through E?
I make a motion to approve A through E.
Are there any questions regarding A through E? Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Moving on to report items. First on the report item tonight is from Mr. Long, E.O. Kaufman.
Good evening again, guys. I appreciate the opportunity once again. I think in your packets, you have a copy of sort of a snapshot of what's going on academically at E.O. Kaufman. Overall summary, there we got achievement scores is a 3, growth scores a 1, that growth 25 score, that's a 3. Overall, Kaufman is grade level evaluation as a D. Kaufman is identified as a TSI school, and we are targeted once again this year for our white students. If you remember in previous years, we have been targeted for our students with disabilities, but we're no longer targeted. So we have made some pretty good gains with our students with disabilities, and faculty and staff are working hard to improve across the board. I mean, if we can improve, obviously the white students make up a pretty good chunk of the population. So we're targeting basically the whole school for those improvements. If you will look down at the next box, the growth scores. Those growth scores, you can see some improvements. If you jump over to the science and social studies, made some pretty good gains there in the growth scores in science and social studies. Still lagging a little bit in the math and the ELA, but if you'll notice 8th grade math, there we made some pretty good gains in last school year for that. Down at the bottom of the page, those are the percentage of the students that met or exceeded the expectations. I can echo the sentiments of the faculty and staff at E.O. Kaufman. Nobody's happy with what the report card is showing us, but the faculty and staff come to work every day. They are tirelessly trying to improve, and I can see improvements almost on a weekly basis as far as what the faculty's doing and their commitment to the students and willingness to try new things. So I don't want to take up any more of your time, but that is a snapshot of things going on at E.O. Kaufman academically. And if anybody has any questions about what they're seeing on their page, I'd be happy to try to answer that.
I have a question, Mr. Long. My only question is, what from my standpoint, from the school board standpoint, is there anything else that we can do that you need from us for you and your staff to achieve the improvements that y'all are looking to achieve?
I'll be honest with you, with the commitments that you guys have already made, the Mastery Connect, I'll be quite honest with you, I was talking to Ms. Ridgeway yesterday, with the purchase of that Mastery Connect, that has allowed a focus that I have not seen in several years as far as what the faculty's been able to do. So what you guys have committed to at Kaufman and what we've committed to at Kaufman, I think right now with the exception of some few minor tweaks, I think right now what we need is time, and obviously I want to shorten that timeline up as much as possible, but getting as far away from COVID as we can and getting as far away from construction as we can, and I'm not trying to make any excuses because I've talked to Mr. Atkins about this more than once, and I don't want it to come across as an excuse, but until you live the almost 2 years of construction that we lived at Kaufman, there's no way for anybody to understand the amount of stress that put on the faculty and staff and the students for that matter. Now, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'm just going to say that was a factor because it affected daily life every day for almost 2 years. It's not an excuse, but we're taking those lessons learned, and faculty's working hard. I'll be honest with you. I've been teaching for 27 years, 13 of that in administration, and I've not been around a harder working faculty than what Kaufman has right now. Not to take away from anywhere I've ever worked, but as far as a cohesive unit committed to the education of our students, and I'm talking academically, but I'm also talking socially and emotionally, the expectations are high, and the faculty and staff, they're not happy with the numbers that you see in front of them, and I'm not happy with the numbers. But what you guys have committed to as a board and what Mr. Atkins has committed to as a director, given us some time, I think you will see, I'm fairly confident you're going to see some improvement this year, at the end of this year, but we're going to keep working. We're going to keep working. But I do appreciate the commitment that you guys have made. That Mastery Connect is well worth the investment that you guys have put in.
So that was my next comment, and I think you answered it to my satisfaction anyway. But I do want to commend your staff and what you're doing and what you're trying to do to Kaufman. My question was going to be how much, in this past, how much time do you think you're going to see an improvement from a so-called letter grade, what they just now came out with that? And I mean, it is what it is, but from a D to progressively going from C to B.
Yeah,
I know you mentioned at the end of the year, but is there another progression like middle of next semester to? Right. You see where I'm going?
If memory serves me correctly, we were like 3/10 from a C. We were 3/10 of a points from a C, and that 3/10 can be quite significant. But I mean, we've made some progress over the last 2 years. Because if you look at that bottom, that growth 25 score, a lot of that score includes some of our students with disabilities, and we were targeted with that group last year. So we saw some tremendous gain with those kids. We also, with the implementation of some of the tutoring and that ESSER money, that's been a really beneficial program. I realize that goes away at the end of this year, so we're going to have to find a way to continue that progress there. But without trying to put any numbers on it, sir, I'm going to be honest with you. I do not expect Kaufman to be at the same point the next year when I come to you. I expect to be a C or better. Looking at those Mastery Connect scores, I'm extremely encouraged from the first implementation of that, from that to the second implementation of that, and the teachers have bought on, and they are working hard, and they're doing what's required. We just got to make it show up on the state test.
Good. I know y'all would. Go ahead,
Joe. One other thing, Mr. Long. I appreciate your comments, and I hope that you feel that the staff approach Mr. Atkins and have come to the board throughout these next few months or years. If there is something else that you need support from us, please let us know. But you had made mention on the construction, and now that we're on this side and those upgrades have been in place, I mean, how is the campus running? Is things where they need to be, functioning like they're supposed to be? Is all the construction still holding up like it was, did we get everything addressed that we should have addressed, or do you still have any needs?
There's a few odds and ends that the construction company is still addressing on a daily basis. just, well, case in point, the last big rain that we had several leaks in the new areas. They came back and spent 2 to 3 days addressing those. With all the rain that we've had over the last 48 hours, not a single leak. So that, we've made some progress. I mean, there's still some, we still continue to have a hot water issue, but as of yesterday, in certain areas of the building, but as yesterday, there's a pump that they've had ordered for about 9 months that has still yet to come in. I mean, so there's some supply chain issues that we struggled with all the way through construction that we're still struggling with. But as far as the building is functioning, if you've not been to Kaufman since the construction, it's not the same building. I mean, people that have been to Kaufman before and come to Kaufman now, it's totally different. It doesn't have the same vibe. It's a nice campus. We get compliments all the time about when visitors come in about how nice the campus is. And I had one young lady stop and just talk to us, because she was from here and member of the old Kaufman, and was really impressed with the way the new construction was blended into the old parts of the building. Because you really, unless you knew, it's really hard to notice where the old begins. And that's a testament to our maintenance folks who came in afterwards and did some renovations to the old parts to make it look good. I mean, it's looking good. We're functioning, but to say that we're 100%, no. There's still some
space, room. I mean,
space, room. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I would have liked to have had about 4 more classrooms. The space that we added is great, but if you, we're at capacity. I mean, I feel like we're at capacity to the point to where 6th grade. Talking to Miss Cope before the snow, we had to cut off 6th grade. We're not taking any more 6th graders outside of Kaufman zone because the 6th grade is over capacity.
along those lines, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I'm derailing
No, you're
this,
good.
but Mr. Atkins, we had talked, or it had been brought up to the board on some property surrounding that our campus over there.
Yes, sir.
Is that still on the table? Are we still looking at being able to get that done, accomplished, and opening up room to do some more additions if we needed to? I'm assuming you're probably still having some parking issues, or is that okay?
Parking, during the school day, parking is, I mean, it's full, but it's very manageable. We're no longer parking on the streets. We're keeping Lafayette clear and running, but parking still, I mean, there's ample space for during the day. If you go over there, like we're hosting ball games tonight, you go over there right now, it's
an issue now.
It's an issue.
I just asked.
To put it mildly, it's an issue.
Yeah.
So is that, Mr. Atkins, is those properties, I mean, where do we stand on that?
We're still pursuing that. We've had some contact with the owners of that property, and so we're still pursuing it.
Any other question from Brett?
Mr. Daniel, since you've asked, I would, the one thing that I have spoken to Mr. Atkins about, and if I could make Kaufman, if I could add one thing to Kaufman tomorrow, it would be some CTE programs. Most of your middle schools, our size especially, have some CTE programs. I do think that's one of the things that's missing from our population, but just given our size, and I think that would go a long way to building that environment and that culture of learning, to find an area of where some of these students who are not athletes, who are not band members, who are not student council members, who are, to find their niche in life sooner. And I'm a firm believer that CTEs is the way to do that. And at the middle school level, I know it looks different than it does at the high school, but if I had one wish that I could change overnight, it would be some type of CTE program.
I know that I've heard Ms. Watson talk about, I think it's been a desire of the school system to get CTE all the way down to the middle school. But button that statement right up to my question a minute ago about the room. If we had the capabilities of pushing some CTE down there, do you have any space to take on the CTE?
No, sir.
Okay.
Now, if you tell me I'm getting this, I'm gonna get it.
You're gonna find something?
I
understand.
We'll pitch a tent in the backyard.
I understand.
What little backyard we got left.
Thank you, Mr. Long.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
If anything else is a test to, if you've been looking on the Facebook pages for the past week, I think you got the best sledding yard in the or the hospital could test it out or something, I don't know. Moving on to Ingram South Elementary, Ms. Tracy.
And thank you again, and we do appreciate everything you all do for us. It does go unnoticed, but it is noticed. We just don't say it's noticed, so we do appreciate everything that you do. To begin my report, I'm looking at areas of strength at Ingram South. We look at, there we go, dedicated teachers and staff. I will say within our building, the passion that our teachers have for our students is beyond what is normal for a teacher. They are passionate about our students. They're passionate about our students' learning, and they take it very personal when our students when they are not successful, and then when they are successful. Our community engagement, we have so many organizations that support Ingram South. Kiwanis particularly goes above and beyond for us. They have terrific kid nominations, just their commitment at Christmas. They prepared 250 food bags and 25 food boxes that they help give out at our school for right before winter break. And additionally, we have partnerships with STEM companies that help us with our designation and making sure that we're providing the STEM that our students deserve. We have specialized programs such as our STEM designation. We also have a program that we call SAIL that focuses on students for enriching activities. A lot of times we teach to the middle or we teach down to students, and this is an opportunity for us to focus on those more advanced students and helping them with enriching activities after school. Additionally, we have before school tutoring, after schools tutoring, and that is a strength of those specialized programs. I believe our school is a strength with cultural diversity. We look at the differences that are within our building, and we're stronger for those differences, and we're building empathy in our children to recognize the differences in others and be accepting and tolerant and to see the good in everyone. We have student leadership opportunities where we're training our students to be student leaders. We want them to be leaders. That's a part of our vision. And our safe and supportive school environment, capturing kids' hearts as an initiative that we're doing throughout the district, and that really helps our students. It helps our teachers in addressing misbehaviors within the building, and I will tell you, behavior is not a problem in our building. We have a little handful of students, but I think every school has a little handful of students that struggle meeting the expectations. And, our students, we're not seeing that. Where we're seeing is where we'll talk about those deficiencies and those areas of weakness. We are data-driven at our school. We are constantly looking at data, and that is what drives our decisions. So I feel like that's a strength of ours. When I look at our collective resume at Ingram South, I believe in it. I believe the teachers are there for the right reason. I believe administration, I am there for the right reason, and that is to move children academically. And, I think it's important to recognize the strengths, but also I believe simultaneously we want to address our areas of need. And at this time, we've identified really two major areas that we have to address, and one of those is standardized assessments. Research will tell you that high poverty students don't perform well on those standardized tests. They come to us with a lower vocabulary, so we're working to fill some gaps just to catch up with some of the other students that are more affluential. As far as our TVAS growth, our school-wide score made us very sad. It was a 1. Our literacy was a 1. Our numeracy was a 2. And our school-wide science was a 4. When we look at achievement, I've sectioned off that report so you can see in 3rd grade, and of course that's a big challenge for us, making sure that with the retention law that we are really focusing in every grade and helping kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd understand their role in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, that it requires everyone doing their job. We had 25% of our students that were meeting or exceeding expectations in ELA, 31.3 in math, and 35.9 in science. When we look at 4th grade, there was some growth with our 4th grade. If you look, they moved in 2022 from a 23.3% proficient to 35.4% proficient. It's still not the number we want, but it's definitely us moving in the right direction. In math, they rose from a 26.2% to a 41.7%, and in science, they went from 20.9 to 35.4%. Our 5th grade was disappointing. We had a teacher change midway through the year. So at Christmas, we gained a new teacher. We lost a teacher and gained a new teacher. That was a brand new teacher. She's a phenomenal teacher. We have her in a different grade level this year, and she is phenomenal. But my 5th grade children had a hard time connecting with the new teacher. They didn't have the trust because they'd already built trust with the other teacher. And when you don't have trust in the teachers, I think we get results like we got where we went down in percentage points, and that hurt our overall score, going from a 20% in ELA to 14.3. Those are still not great numbers. We're not happy with only 20% of our children being proficient, 11% in math, but we did rise there to 17.7. And then in science, we had a slight rise to 24.2%. Our corrective action with this is, again, I said before, we are a data-driven school. So we're analyzing our standards analysis reports from TCAP. Additionally, I will second what Mr. Long said about Mastery Connect. We are putting all of our eggs in the Mastery Connect basket. We are seeing tremendous gains from our students as we assess them. We took our second assessment, and we had almost 60% of our 4th grade kids proficient. So we're rising, and if that will translate into TCAP, then we should see some tremendous gains from where we are to where we will be going. We also are doing a little something different as far as an individualized learning plan. Every child is being analyzed for where they currently are on their path, and we are meeting them where they are. And we have tutoring, we have other individualized instruction that is helping to fill those gaps and to move the students in the direction we want them to go. And we have tutoring happens before school, it happens during school, and it happens after school. And so these individualized learning plans provide that additional support that students are needing. And then again, capturing kids' hearts. I don't want to deviate from what I have down, but one of our interventionists, when we do something with capturing kids' hearts that says, tell me something good. And before we begin class, a couple of students can tell us something good. I have an interventionist that said, my kids can't tell me something good until they've told me what's bad. And you can even talk to this, hey, tell me something good when they're coming in. They'll go, my dog died, or my mom's in jail. And they can't get to the good because they have to get that off their heart first. And the trauma that a lot of our children face every day, it's just, my word I use sometimes is it's pitiful, but that can't be the excuse for not achieving. We've got to rise above where you are and get you to the next level. So we love them through that. We have a school-based social worker that's working on it, but we have our school counselor, we have our capturing kids' hearts, but we have a lot of broken children that just need love before they can get the academic side of it. So that's one of our areas, and that's what we're doing as far as the corrective plan. We're working through data individualized learning plans, and taking care of the emotional side so we can take care of the academic side. Another point that we need to work on is chronic absenteeism. I'm floored by the number. If you look at the chart, last year, we had 110 kids miss more than 10% of the instructional day. And I feel like we're chasing attendance like crazy. We are doing we're doing our due diligence. Right now, that's a breakdown of the ethnicities, economically disadvantaged, the number of chronically absent children, and the percentage. We're doing incentives. We're doing challenges. We're doing contracts with the parents. We have our social worker that's doing home visits. So we're going to the home. We're calling. If they're not there, we're finding out why they're not there. And what's alarming to us is right now we have 81 students, that's this year, who have 10 or more excused absences. So they're sick, and they have a doctor's note, and they're home. And if they're at home, they're not learning. And we don't have any time during the school day to wrap back around with them and teach them to the level that they deserve to be taught. And it's a problem for us. We have 18 students right now that have 10 or more unexcused absences. And we feel like that number 10 puts us on track that if they keep this up, they're going to be on that chronically truant list. Right now they're not, but if they continue this path, they will be. So we're going to their houses. We're talking with Ms. Cope and Pupil Services about maybe homebound services for some of the students. We have one student with 35 excused absences, and the doctors are writing the notes. So what do we do to help the children be healthy? We are backpack spraying. We are sanitizing. We're trying to take care of the students. But we even had students over the snowpocalypse or whatever that was called, who was getting strep throat. And they had not been around anyone else, but they somehow manifested strep throat. So we had reports from parents over the snow where their children were getting sick. And so, that's a chronic problem for us. It's a true problem, and that's a fight we're fighting. We're working through the contracts. And that last part on our corrective plan is we're petitioning them to court. So when we follow the processes through the tiers in attendance, we're doing everything we know to do, but this score is a part of that level, that score of a D. This attendance plays into that. And so, even if we can get the academic achievement and the growth, we still have this number that's playing, and it's a plague for us. It's very hard. So again, we're addressing both of them. We're staying on top of it. Mr. Atkins will see in my budget, I have, in that budget, I've requested a classified person that might be able to help us with attendance. Right now we have our school counselor that's doing the bulk of that. She has a master's degree in school counseling, and she's chasing attendance. I feel like her services could be better served taking care of the emotional and social side of students, but she's spending, so it's a very highly qualified person that's doing a lot of attendance chasing. Our social worker is doing phenomenal. Katie Reed is absolutely supporting us. She is on top of the parents. She's helping us so much. And, we're trying to stop the bleeding right now of where we are on the current number of students with attendance issues. So, again, that's one of our areas of weaknesses. As I move through the rest of the presentation, some of our offerings that we offer students at our school, we do community service projects. So we're trying to build empathy in our students to help others. So Grace House was one of the charities, one of the organizations that we chose to sponsor. And our children, we call it like pennies, like we called it pennies for pets one year. This year it's just change donations, whatever they can pull together. $600, we wrote a check to Grace House from Ingram Sal for students waiting to go into foster care or some of their needs that they have in foster care. We do have a millionaire club, and we have a lot of students chasing that million, reading a million words. And so Brianna Jones is a winner of that. She is a 5th grader. We offer robotics. We offer cooking class for our students so they can do after-school cooking. We also have an intramural soccer and cross-country team, and of course I've mentioned SAIL. As a part of our student and staff population, we do have 45 certified staff members and 22 classified, and 14 additional support. 3 of our certified teachers are currently enrolled in the iTeach, so they're working through getting that certification through iTeach. We have 1 licensed person that's on a provisional license, so this license will expire at the end of this school year, and they must pass the praxis test in order to renew that license. And there is a correction. We no longer have 2 open SPED positions. We just have 1. So we just filled a SPED position, and that person's going to start on Monday, and that will help us provide services to our Tier 3 students. Some of the present projects that we're working on, we have a partnership with Mayor Blake Lay, Lawrenceburg City, and Lawrence County governments, where they're going to be renovating our East Playground. So they're going to be putting up the barriers around the equipment and filling that with appropriate mulch. They're going to be painting and purchasing new swings, and we're going to be pulling up some of the items that we feel maybe are outdated or unsafe for students. And then we also currently are working in our gymnasium, where we have hung acoustic curtains, and we are working on hanging some acoustic things to make the climate in the gymnasium tolerable, so our coach can have her classes in there each day. Our future projects are with Kiwanis Club of Lawrence County, where we're looking at renovating the West Playground, and that will be coming next. That will be the next thing on our agenda. So as I go through my presentation, when we came back from winter break, I wanted students to write me a letter or write me a paragraph telling me why Ingram Sal is a great place to learn. I told them that we would be creating a video commercial to share with you, our board members, and I read every child's submission, and I went through and I selected the students that I felt really represented Ingram Sal, because I can tell you every day what a great place Ingram Sal is. But when you listen to the words of these children, this is literally from the mouths of babes. I didn't feed this to them. This is their word, but we have a video. It's a real short clip, but I want to share it with you from the mouths of our sweet little babies at Ingram Sal.
I'm going to work on the volume. I don't know how loud this will be. Sorry.
It's just music, so it should be okay.
Our leadership by being a student ambassador. Our teachers encourage creativity. Our teachers reward us for making our goal. Our student is always in her office and she takes care of us. Recess, of course! Officer Roberts keeps us safe. Our school is always clean. Our cafeteria crew makes good food. Our teachers make us smart. The ESO program helps many Hispanic kids that do not know anybody. Our teachers love us. Our school is safe and we have plenty of helpful meetings. Our school is filled with amazing kids. No one makes you smart. I love the books in the library. All teachers protect us. We build skills through STEAM inspiration.
I didn't pay her to say that. She literally wrote that, I promise.
Break it down for us if we do not understand the lesson. We extend learning for workers and excursions. We are a family and we work together.
And then that is our mission and vision, where we want to have engaged citizens, effective leaders, and lifelong learners. And that is what we're striving for and working for. And we know we have a long way to go to get there, but we are committed to the process, and we're grateful. We're grateful to get to work with such amazing kids. And so my final is the board appreciation, where, I appreciate your vision. The sacrifice that you make to be away from your family, to make decisions and make policy and do the things for Lawrence County that makes us the best district. And I appreciate each of you, and I'm open to any questions or any comments that you have.
You're going.
Hey, what is the caseload of your social worker?
So our social worker right now, Katie, she works with so many different families. I'm going to say she has about probably 12 families she's working with. But anytime we need her to go do a wellness check, she'll go with their SRO to go check in on children. Today we had her checking on two that are in that high number of chronic absenteeism.
So, Ms. Tracy, I'm going to ask you the same question John asked Guido Kaufman. As a board, is there any pressing issues that you think that we can do to help you achieve I don't want to say higher score, but basically, get what you need to function at a better rate?
I think help chasing the attendance, I think, is going to be very valuable for us. We can't teach kids who are not at school. We can't teach kids who are not feeling well.
Are you getting the support from the supervisor staff in that aspect?
Are you speaking?
Here at the home,
like speaking specifically of Sarah Cope. We've sent several emails. Yes, we are working with Sarah to try to look at homebound for some of our, we have particularly a few kids that are emotionally unstable, and they're missing a lot of days because of having to go to a lot of doctor's appointments and things of that nature, where homebound may be best for them. And so again, it's a collaboration with Sarah, but yes, we do communicate with Sarah.
Go ahead, John.
How many, out of curiosity, because I wrote down a note on the specific case where you said you had a student who's already missed 35 days.
It's 36 now.
How many academic days have we been in school this year?
We have 77 days left. So our school day is about 187 days. You take out all of those snow days, and so.
What percentage, those great in math, what percentage is?
It's about 33%.
It's about,
30.
and
So
he
they missed a third of school.
yeah, two brothers, and if one stays home, the other one does.
What does, I mean, because I feel your pain, or I understand what you're saying. How can you educate
We can't.
a kid that's not there?
We can't.
But I don't know from the school system what the county school system do when they're not there,
Yeah.
if they're excused doctor's notes.
And I would think all schools could speak to this same challenge. It happens, and the legal system can only go so far. The school system can only go so far. But I've had some meetings with some attorneys and the Bar Association about could we think differently in how we address this with our students and our parents. And we're continuing to have those conversations as well. Is there a way to do this and do it in a way that those who need to be held accountable are being held accountable?
Her absentee was right at 30%. What is offhand, what's the average throughout the rest of the county?
We doubled our chronic absenteeism. Like, I want to say last year we were 18%. We've not hardly doubled, but we've had a tremendous uptick in chronic absenteeism. Some of the other schools have 10%, 12%. So.
And I can only imagine that Ingram Sal in particular traditionally has had a higher rate. I mean, I can imagine that, but
So we've not recouped since COVID. Prior to COVID, we were able to keep it under the recommended amount by the State Department. Most schools were. Ingram South has always been traditionally higher, but even then,
Right.
could keep it lower. We had one of our high schools that was at 2%. I mean, but since COVID, we've not been able to rebound, but that's across the state.
Yeah.
Because even the state has changed and worked with their threshold on accountability over the last couple of years because of the issue of chronic absenteeism.
So, Mr. Atkins, I know what you stated, you've been having conversations with lawyers. I mean, you and I have talked, or as the board members, everybody's talked around this issue throughout the years. I guess my question, or I'm going to put this in a form of question. As a citizen of this county, what do I need to be calling Kip Capley? Do I need to be calling Joey Hensley? Does the legislation from the state side need to be given more power to legals? I mean, what else? Because we can talk about it and still be talking about it this time next year, and nothing's changed. What needs to happen to enact some change? Who does we as individual board members, who does this community need to be reaching to say, let's get serious about getting these kids in school?
Well, I would think, again, what I said earlier, there are people who are responsible for getting her babies to school, getting her babies up in the morning and getting them to school, and there has to be accountability there. As you move up and you start getting into high schools, it's a little different. Middle school's a little different. Elementary schools, the accountability is where we're lacking. And the legal system can only go so far. I think that's where it has to change. There has to be some consequences for
in that legal system. So
Yes.
to me, that would mean, I mean, that's pointing the direction that I need to be talking to my state representatives, and they've got to get on Capitol Hill. They got to get serious about it.
Yeah. Because you can measure a lot of things that teachers do. The test scores, the scores that Mrs. Marks has given, what Mr. Long did, we can get that back to a good bit of our teachers. And we got work to do there, and everybody would admit that. But as Mrs. Marks has said, we can't teach them if they're not here. You got to get them to us. And when we have them, teaching is taking place, learning is taking place. But missing 35 days is a tremendous step.
Yeah, it's not fair to hold her and our teachers accountable for a poor test score of a kid that's missed a third of the school.
Especially if it brings it down that much to the level of grade she was getting.
Okay, thank you. I don't mean to belabor it. I appreciate the input.
Mr. Atkins,
Go ahead.
one quick question. When the State Department comes down with a D grade on the school, do they offer any suggestions of how to maybe help out?
We'll talk about that in just a minute.
During the academic presentation,
Okay.
Mrs. Ridgway has.
All right.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm moving on to B, personnel report. That was in the packet. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Atkins? Moving on to C, director's update. Mr. Atkins.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I have in the packet for you the presentation that will take place at the State of the County on the 30th. I'd encourage you to be there. I think we've bought tickets for everyone. Should be over with by 10:15 that morning. I wanted you to have a look at that. That's why it's in the packet. Some of the information that I'm fixing to cover is in there, and some of it's not. So I wanted you to have that, but I wanted to cover some information with you. So I'm going to try to move through it quickly, but I will also send this in the weekly update, so you'll have it as well. 6,931 students. That includes the PVA, 147 PVA students. Overall, the brick and mortar, pre-K 12, is 6778. So you put those two together, you're just slightly under 7,000 students. 15 schools, and our budget, operating budget with TISA is $63 million. Our total operating budget includes some federal funds is $77 million, and around 1,100 employees. I think Mrs. Elledge would tell you there's more than that because she just completed the W-2 forms, and I think it was closer to 12, a little over 1,200 or so. But we do have a number of people working with us. We've been recognized as a fast-growing district. That's student enrollment. I do want to share with you about progress with our pay scale. Since 2020, the board has increased salaries for faculty and staff, for our support staff, anywhere from 18 to 32% of support staff increases over the years. $30 million in capital projects. Our A through F report cards, we have some significant bright spots there that I really can't go into, but I know Mrs. Ridgway will touch on those, and she can't really get into those as deep right now, but at some point you're going to hear some great things that have happened in Lawrence County this year. Of the 15 districts that make up the South Central Core, we are in the top 6 districts in performance. And the top 3, we're in the top 3 of those 15 when you look at 4 or more schools. So we're a large district. We have more schools than anyone else in that. We're second in population. So we're in the top 6 of all 15, and then we get into the top 3 when you look at 4 or more schools. We're the 3rd largest district on enrollment, 2nd largest in the number of schools. I apologize for that. 3rd largest in enrollment, 2nd largest in the number of schools. We were 3rd in the region in 3rd grade total proficiency for the 3rd grade test. The first year of that, we were 3rd out of that 15. We were 1st when you look at districts with more than 4 schools. Some districts have 1 or 2 schools. They're not measuring as much as we are. So when you get it down and say, okay, apples to apples, here's where we rank. We were in the top 30 among the 138 districts in the state with 3rd grade proficiency. And I remember sharing that with the board. Top 30 out of 138 from east to west, north and south in the state of Tennessee. Academic leads have been hired and working with our teachers, providing assistance. Our professional learning communities are growing. Had some positive meetings this week. Mrs. Ridgway may speak to that. Dr. Glass may speak to it if called upon. Our strategic plan that we presented to the board back in June is progressing nicely. We're slightly ahead of where we should be. We're continuing to work that. I'll get the board an update on that. Our CTE programs, the regional average, we exceeded the regional average in all 8 categories. CTE was measured on 8 categories for the region, and we exceeded all 8 of those. And in the state, overall state, we exceeded 6 of the 8. So we beat our region, and now we're 6 of the 8 when you compare the state. Our Ready Grad is 69%, work-based learning is up to 40%. I do want to talk about some challenges that we're facing, and you've heard some of those tonight. As our community grows, our population increases, and our schools are experiencing growth. We're experiencing population challenges. I've shared with the board some of the ideas that we may need to explore to address that. Job opportunities in this county are developing. People are coming to us. Our capacity in our facilities are starting to get stretched, and we're going to have to address that. We need to have some updated facilities. And I think we know from classrooms to gymnasiums, a number of things we need to be looking at. I think we're going to have to take a hard look at how best to address those, and that's going to be challenging. But I do think we have to sit down and say, how do we spend our resources? Where do we need to build? What do we need to do? The county is on the cusp of change, so should Lawrence County school system. We do have a lack of candidates for positions. That's all positions. Teaching, administrator, aides, food service, bus drivers, mechanics. Our greatest concern, our greatest need right now and concern, special education and mathematics. Those are areas that we've got to work on. Increase challenges with our special ed program. We do have an aging staff in our maintenance department and in our student transportation. And I say that, those folks are going to retire someday, just like we're going to retire. And the problem is there's not a backfill. People aren't going into those positions. People have to fix buses. People have to drive buses. And if you don't have that workforce, it's going to put a strain on us. And we've adjusted and addressed salaries, but we're going to have to start looking at the people who have a mind for that work and trying to pull them in, because that's a significant concern when you're maintenance guys in the buildings, maintenance on the buses, and your bus drivers are aging out. And we've got to address that because that hurts our kids. That's a major challenge for us. Educational savings accounts, vouchers. The passage of that, if that were to happen, is going to have a significant impact on Lawrence County. There's no way of looking at it and saying it's not. It's going to have an impact. Now, I don't know what the status on that is. That's the governor, that's the legislature. But a passage of that takes money out of the public school system in Lawrence County is going to have a significant impact on the people that serve and work with our kids. It's going to have a significant impact on our budget. So we have to be mindful of that. I've encouraged our folks to voice their opinion. If they're for it, let their legislators know. If they're against it, let their legislators know. But do it in a way that represents who you are and where you work, and be professional about it. But you do have a right to let your voice be heard. Increasing migrant students. I think I shared with the board at one time we were around 68 students. That had been our holding point for several years, and we've topped 100 at times this year. That's a challenge. That's a significant challenge for students coming to us that can't speak. And then the teacher shortage nationwide is a major challenge for us. As teachers retire, finding people to come into this profession is getting more and more of a challenge. Mrs. Thompson can tell you that. The principals can tell you that. It is becoming more and more of a challenge. We've been blessed in Lawrence County, but it's becoming a challenge for us as well. Some positive things, facilities. I think our facilities overall in the county are improving significantly. Mr. Tucker and Mr. Brown have done a great job of overseeing that, moving that needle. I think our principals would tell you a lot of work has happened in our schools over the last several years. We've already into a phase 4 capital project, and we're working on a phase 3. We're preparing for a phase 4. So a lot of good things have happened. Already had discussions with County Executive Morgan about facilities and where we're going and where we will be. We can't look at where we are in 24, 25, 26. We owe the kids in the community a good school system in 2030, 2032. We need to prepare now for what that's going to look like for them. School safety, I can't brag enough on our administrators, our teachers, our SROs. We've addressed the issue at Lawrence County High School. For a long time there was a need for 2 SROs. We now have 2 SROs, SRO in every building. Our employment opportunities, people do want to work for us. It's a good place to work. It's a good community to live. It's a great place to raise a family. We have to recruit, and we're working on things for just that, recruiting people into this school system. Our technology is strong. CT highlights, I mentioned some of that to you. A lot of great things happening there. Our social emotional, working with our students. You heard Mrs. Marks talk about some of the challenges, Mr. Long talk about some of the challenges. That is growing. I think Lawrence County is well ahead of the game in addressing those needs for kids who are experiencing challenges. And that has risen since COVID, and it's not going to drop off. It's going to continue to rise. Food service, our ladies do an outstanding job of getting meals to our kids. When you take a look at the overall total lunches, there's almost 9,000 meals served a day in Lawrence County. It's unreal. So I present all this information to you just to simply say thank you. Thank you to Chairman Caruso, Vice Chairman Neidert, previous Chair, Vice Chair, Mr. Daniel, and to all of you. Your vision, your support, your trust, your leadership impacts the men and women of the school system, and they impact the children of the school system. We're very blessed as the demands in education change, and they change a lot. And if you've been in education, you know that. They change a lot. Our folks keep meeting the challenge and keep facing the changes, and good things happen. Mr. Chairman, I think our system is strong. We've got work to do, and we're not going to let up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ackers. Does anyone have any questions regarding that student status of the system? Thank you. And once again, just kind of remind you of next, I think it's next Tuesday, that that will be at the college, and Michael will present the same thing with more detail, and the county update. So I'm looking forward to it. So it should be a pretty good informational thing. Moving on to LECA. Is she? I saw her earlier. Yeah, there she is. Back in the corner. Oh, okay. Miss Ridger, I'll get you. I'm sorry, that was my fault. I done marked it off, but Go ahead, yeah, we'll backtrack.
I know Greg had called and he said he thought that Mr. Adkins was going to present the collaborative conferencing information. So he had asked me to just bring that up, that he thought you were going to go over that with the board.
Yeah, I think, did we discuss that at the last board meeting, that we'd had the discussions, we'd approved the what we call that, the rules or the questions, special questions, and now we're ready to start scheduling some meetings, if I remember correctly, for the springtime.
Thank you. Now backtrack to academic report, Ms. Ridgway.
So you have a packet of copies that look like this. We're going to try to, I don't want to squeak. We're going to try to walk. We're going to try to walk through this. This is where my teacher comes out in me, and I really need a smart board and all of those things to touch and move and all that. If you're not a person that this will bother, you might want to tear the two pie charts off so that you can put them side by side and see them at the same time. But as of right now in our state, all schools receive two different indicator grade accountability scores. They receive a federal score and they receive a state score. They both, as you can see, look at two different things, but they do have some things in common. But they're equally important. Some school systems are saying we're going to focus on this one, and some school systems are saying we're going to focus on another one. We feel like at least it look more like a GPA, because we want to be well-rounded and successful in all areas. So when you look at this, tonight we're going to focus more on the school letter grade model than we are the federal school accountability model, because the school letter grades are public. The federal school accountability indicator scores are still embargoed. We feel like we've had them forever and we've been using them to help drive our instruction, but they've not been released publicly because of the district designation and the reward schools just being released. So those are under an appeal process that they have to go through by law. And once that appeals process is over, then we'll be able to announce hopefully multiple reward schools and our district designation. So as we go through this, know that I'll answer any questions you have that I can about the federal scores, but I may not be able to answer fully some of those questions. But when we look at the school letter grade model, if you want to compare it side by side, and just look at the two K-8 schools. Before we get started, I want to define, just a few minutes, some of those terms that you're seeing on those pages. When you see the word achievement, that is a student's actual score. So they take the TCAP or they take the EOC, and they're going to get a score back that's either going to be basic, below, approaching, meets, or exceeds. So if they score in that meets or exceeds category, then they're considered proficient. If they score in that below or approaching category, then they're considered not proficient. So that's what that achievement score is, and it doesn't matter at what grade level, that's what they're talking about when they say achievement. Another word you'll hear that kind of is the same thing as that, they use it interchangeably, is going to be success rate. So you'll see that on a few minutes when we talk about the school scores, you'll see the word success rate, and that means about the same thing. So when you see the word growth on your scores, that's talking about how much a student grows from one year to the next. So in order for that score to populate, there has to be two scores. There has to be a score the year before and a current score for that to happen. That score is calculated by a company called SAS. In the educator world, those of you that have taught for a while, that's our TBOS that we call it. But SAS calculates that for TDOE, and then they send that score to us. CCR You'll see that on the high school portion. CCR is college and career ready. So that means of various things. They can achieve college and career ready status if a student scores a 21 on the ACT, a 31 on the ASVAB, or what the state calls a Tier 3 industry certification, a Tier 2 industry certification plus one more, or earns a early post-secondary credit. So that's how a student is identified as college and career ready. One of the main differences in your federal accountability and your state accountability is that college and career ready score for the state is based on the graduating cohort of 2023. When you look at the federal graduation stuff, the ready grad and the grad rate, that is based on the school cohort of 2022. It's what we call lag data. So you're comparing two different groups of students when you're looking at those scores. That's kind of hard to do. What makes a high school, and under that accountability tool format, is that they have a graduating cohort of 30 or more. So when we look at Summertown Middle, Summertown High School, Summertown Middle is going to be coupled in with Summertown High School in these scores because this is their first year as a school. But they were 7-12, so they had a graduating cohort of 30, so that pushes them into that high school category. Whereas Kaufman, they don't have a graduating cohort, so they're going to be pushed down into that K-8 accountability. That's just to kind of explain what you're looking at. In the K-8 category, in the achievement piece, well, let's just talk about the whole pile when you're talking about K-8. 50% of their score is achievement, so that's what the kid scores, just plain honest. So when you look at Ingram South, they're struggling. You saw their achievement scores. So that's 50% of that letter grade for them. Growth is 40%, and then growth 25 is 10%. Growth 25 is a new indicator that the state has, and it's to focus on your most needy students. So they take all of the subjects that are tested, and they look at those students that scored in the bottom 25% of the school. So every school is going to have a bottom 25%. Some of those schools are going to have bottom 25% that are scoring in the 2nd percentile and the 10th percentile, and some schools are going to have students in that bottom 25 that are scoring in the 50th percentile. It just depends on the makeup of the school. So that's an indicator that's 10% that's specifically focused on that bottom 25% of the school population. Achievement for your letter grade, it actually includes all tested subjects. So when you look at it, it's going to include ELA, math, science, and social studies where those two are tested. Whereas your federal is only going to include ELA and math. Now in the state, it is weighted. So in 3 through 5, because they only take 3 subjects, your ELA and math are 40% apiece, and your sciences were 20%. When you get up into 6 through 8, they take the 4 subjects. Your ELA and math are 35 apiece, and your science and social studies are 15 apiece. So the state decided to put some weights on those subjects. Your growth, it's not weighted, but it is all tested subjects. So there's no weight there, they all count. They all count equally. Another big difference between your state and federal accountability is your state is all students averaged in together. When you look at your federal accountability and you look at the academic piece, the achievement and growth, they have all of it is calculated and then multiplied by 60% for all students. And then they recalculate all of that for your subgroups, and that's 40% of the score. That's not done in your school letter grade. So that's a big difference. Our high schools, you want to look and compare those those two pie charts. The high schools include Lawrence County High School, Loretta, and Summertown. The difference in high school and elementary in the letter grade model, high school, all of those subjects are counted equally. There's no weights. So biology EOC counts the same as an English 1 EOC. Counts the same as an Algebra 1 EOC. So they all are counted equally. They're also all counted equally in the growth as well. So do y'all have any questions before we move on to the school part? Do y'all have any questions about the pie charts or any of the verbiage that's on the pie charts? Okay, so we're going to look at 2 schools, and then y'all can look at the rest of them. I just want to explain how they're scored, and if you want to ask any questions now, or if you want to ask them later, I'm open to explaining. You'll notice that the state score is there for you, but that federal score is blacked out. The principals know their score because they're allowed to know that for planning purposes. So they have all the information they need. We just can't share it publicly. So first, we've got Summertown Elementary out. I want you to look down at the sub-scores at the bottom. This is where I need my interactive whiteboard. But the first indicator they have is 3 through 5 success rate. And you can see those scores straight across, the ELA, the math, and the science. And then you see an overall score. That overall score is 53.96. If you go up and look in the middle, there's achievement 3 through 5 cut scores. That 53.96 falls at a level 5 category, and so that's where the 5 comes from in the total. Okay? When you look at your 6 through 8 success rate, the overall total was a 46.55. You're going to go to the 6 through 8 cut scores. They again fall in a level 5. Your participation rate, that needs to be above a 95%. As long as it's above 95%, we get full credit for our achievement scores. When it's below 95%, then there's a calculation that they do that scales those achievement scores back. So we get counted off if we don't have 95 participation rate. Yes.
Ms. Ridgway, the 6 through 8 now,
Yes.
is that grade level, 6 through 8?
Yes.
But elementary, Summertown Elementary just has
They
6.
just have 6th grade. Yes.
So how does that play in these numbers?
So if you look up here at the top, you've got your percentages that the 50% for achievement, the 40% for growth, and the 10% for the growth 25.
Yes.
Then you have your score column, where those totals at the bottom are up there at the top. Then you have enrollment, that's 73% and 28%.
Okay.
So 73% of their students
Are
3 through 5, 28% are 6 through 8, and so when you do that calculation, that percentage is taken into account.
Okay, thank you.
So the calculations, the overall scores are on the side. So overall achievement, they received a 2.5. Growth, a 2.0. Their growth 25 was 0.5, and when you add all those up, that totals a 5. You go over to your state score. The 5, of course, is in an A range, and so their state score is an A. I want you to make note, both the state and federal scores are on a 5-point system. The state is a 1 through 5, but the federal is a 0 through 4. I don't know why they did that, but they did. So that's how that works. Any question? That's going to work. The reason I picked Summertown Elementary is because of the example where Mr. Daniel just pointed out was the K-6, where they had that 1 6th grade. So our K-5s, you don't have to worry, they're going to be 100%, but our K-8s are going to have that percentage where just a percentage is 3.5 and a percentage is 6.8.
You didn't choose it because it was an A?
Did not, but if you look, there are several. We're proud of that. There are several. Okay, so I want to do real quick a high school example. So if we look at Loretta High School, we'll use that one as an example, and then I'll answer any questions. So again, we start down here at the bottom with sub-scores. The 9 through 12 success rate was a 36.4. And you'll see right there beside it that there's a 36.4 with a sub. So a substitute score can happen if a student, we use biology for example. So say they enroll in dual enrollment at Columbia State and take their biology and get their biology credit and never enroll or take an EOC at the high school level, they can sub that score in. And the state takes the better of those two scores. So they don't hang their hat on one or the other. So they look and take the better of those two scores. So if you look at the 36.4 and you go up to the achievement 9 through 12 cut scores, the 36.4 falls in the 4 range. The college and career ready rate was 74.6, which is amazing. You go up to the cut scores for CCR, that falls in the 5 range. Growth fell in the 3. Their growth 25 fell as a 3. All of that goes to the top where the scores are, and you see the calculation. They ended up with a 3.7, which put them in the B range. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead.
Will we ever get to hear the federal score? It's just something we can't hear at this time.
Yes,
Okay.
and they've not put a date on it yet.
Okay.
The state releases that, like all of these letter grade scores can be found on the state report card site. All of these scores, not necessarily in this format, I put it in this format because it made it help me understand it better. But all of these scores are on the state website, on the state report card website, and so will the federal scores be. What was very interesting for us is some of ours that scored D's did not fall in that same category in the federal. And then then it was vice versa. And some scored lower in the federal and higher at the state level. So the definite bringing in the science and social studies in the state letter grade, and then bringing in the chronic absenteeism and the ELPA, which are English learners, on the other side, definitely affected some scores.
So that was my question. So the state is not comparable to the federal?
They are not
They are
comparable.
not.
They're assessing two different. The only thing they do have in common is they are doing achievement and they are doing growth. But when you look at the achievement and you look at the growth, different scores are mixed into that. To Mr.
Royce.
Royce, there you go. Niner. There, I was trying to think of Niner. I had Royce in my head, but it was Niner. To your question about the targeted schools, we do have one targeted school for the white population, as Mr. Long said. So the state does provide support if you are targeted, but just because you're a D doesn't make you targeted. We just have that one school that is targeted. So TSI is not the most severe targeted. ATSI is the most severe. TSI means that of their white population, they fell in the bottom 5% of the state. So that's why they're targeted for that population.
So as a system, what grade or what emphasis are we putting on more than the other? Federal, state, or both equal?
We've decided that we're going to look at it like a GPA. They're both bring value to the table, and we need to look at both. People are more upset about the state grade at this point because it came in after the fact. Previously, they were going to base the state grade off that federal score, and that's why you see up there with the federal score A, B, C, D. That's something that they gave us prior. They don't attach a letter grade to the federal score anymore. The state came up with their own format. The federal government did have the state come back and rework their accountability tool, and I think that had some effect on that. We assess differently than other states, and the federal government wanted a way to make us our data more comparable to the other states. So they made us move and shift some things around to make that look a little bit different.
Is this going to be any effect on the budget aspect if you have so much, if you're a little grade lower or higher?
We do, as a system, provide more support, whether it be the academic leads and coaches going into the school more, whether it be us visiting more and having more conversations, just more supporting. I mean, we don't want to punish, we're not to that point. We don't think that those teachers are doing it intentional, but we do want to provide support because we think we have very strong teachers in Lawrence County.
I agree.
And they're respectable teachers. And some things, you don't know what you don't know, so we try to provide that support.
Any other, go ahead.
Real quick, how do you come up with a participation rate of 99? Where does that come from?
That comes from, so we have a fifth grade class that has 100 students in it. Out of that 100 students, only 99 of them tested. So it's based on the number of students enrolled in the grade divided by the number of students tested divided by the number of students enrolled.
But if they don't test, you let them do a makeup, right? I mean, later on.
They can do a makeup, but we do have cases where, and a lot of times it happens in ACT. When we look at that ACT participation rate, sometimes it's just really hard to get them to, even though we do the makeups. Everybody does their due diligence to get them tested.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're sick, and it doesn't happen. We do just have that window to do a makeup. We don't have to hold until the end of the school year. One thing that I do want to point out, when Mr. Atkins talked about the Educational Savings Act, a real stickler for me about the Educational Savings Act is that this is the accountability tool that the public school, we get 2 grades in the public school. Private schools don't get a grade. So if we're going to do the Education Savings Act, then we need the same accountability. They need to be held to the same standards and the same that we are.
But public John Q don't see that. They don't see that.
Yeah, but that's if the money's going to be tied.
That's true. I agree.
Then I think you need to, in my opinion, you need to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So that's a freebie from Katie.
Any other questions? Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman Crusoe?
Go ahead.
Can I request can we do a 5-minute recess?
I was going to suggest that as well. We'll go bypass F since our representatives are not here, and we'll take a 5-minute break, or whatever y'all need. Anybody need a little water?
I got to go to. Might be the water.
That might be the problem.
Know what you have there. It is.
I was trying to follow it a little bit. I'm not following it totally, so.
Trying to figure out, okay, you got 15 districts. 2 of them, Lewis and Moore, had a higher 3rd grade proficiency.
And on the number 2, if you want, we'll go on both of them if you like. Number 2, Loretta High School basketball scheduling change for a tournament.
I'll make a motion to approve 1 and 2.
Second.
We got a motion to approve 1 and 2. Do we need single votes or no?
No, sir.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Moving on to item 4, budget items for consideration. Can we get a motion from, well, number 1 is Summertown Football Field Project.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Call roll, please.
Caruso,
Aye.
Daniel,
Yes.
Dryden,
Yes.
Hartsfield,
Yes.
Noddert,
Yes.
Rochelle,
Yes.
Weathers,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to number 2, virtual reality goggles. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? We got a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Please call roll.
Weathers,
Yes.
Rochelle,
Yes.
Noddert,
Yes.
Hartsfield,
Yes.
Dryden,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Caruso,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. I was just informed that item number 3, concrete pads, has not come in, so we were going to strike that. Going on to 4, compensation for non-faculty coaches. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so what, there was quite a bit of discussion over the past few meetings. And is the policy on the, do you have the, was there a document from the past meetings? Didn't we review this?
Not that I'm aware of. Is there a policy that we can bring up?
What we have currently is some adjustments in the athletic supplements where we go through a process to determine a head coach who's a non-faculty. We would have to begin that, putting all that in paper and bring back to the board before we go any further, I think. Because right now, these are just contracted positions is what we would do.
So this is, what we're voting on is that we'll just use spring sports or whatever, basketball. Once basketball season is done, if we had a non-faculty coach, they're going to get paid if we approve this. Is that correct?
I might suggest that it go into effect at the next school year. So rather than going back, because you're going to have to go back to a lot of sports. That would be my recommendation, is to begin it going forward.
I guess my question, I mean, I am in support of this and always have been, but what is the criteria that we're going, that's what I feel like that I'm asking for, is that policy. I mean, we've had these discussions before a non-faculty coach gets compensated. We've checked off A, B, C, D, E, and F, and that's what I'm asking is, what is that criteria that we're checking off before we're saying non-faculty coach can be paid?
I would think we would do it the same as we're doing it, of course, the background checks, the recommendations, but I think if someone, a non-faculty coach, to be a assistant basketball coach, that it would have to run through the system, anyone interested in doing it, at that school and then at the system. If there's not, then the AD principal would make the recommendation, and then we would go through and fulfill the contract, which we have it spelled out like we do with the head coaches now. So all the background checks, all those things, run it through the system. There was no interest. Now we would pursue that.
Go ahead, Nikki.
You have to take tests. I mean, you have to go through and
Oh, yeah, well,
do tests.
there's a number of things, yeah.
I would, again, it's just a very generic point. I would like to add to it that if you were non-faculty, you get paid this year. I'm in support of that. and adding it to where the people that did it this year. The reason I say that is because last year we approved it on individual people. There were some people that got paid as non-faculty coaches. Last year, they just were brought one at a time. Now we're doing it as a blanket. And I think we ought to make it to where the 23-24 school year, those folks ought to get paid.
Are you making that as an amendment?
I would love to add that as an amendment.
I got an amendment to add coaches for this year being compensated. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Let's call roll on that.
I'd still like a little more discussion,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. So I need some clarification, or I would like to have some clarification. Mr. Atkins and I have had this conversation before the board. There was a situation that I was made aware of last year, and I don't even remember names, so I'm not going to throw names out. But there was a elementary school employee who applied for a middle school basketball position. She was overlooked, and it was given to a non-faculty coach. Now, I also don't want to back an administration team into a corner and say I support having the best person in the position, but I'm torn because I also support our employees. I would be a little teed off if I'm an employee of this school system for 15 years and I've got an interest to go and coach, and I have credentials to go and coach whatever it is, but Administrator X decides that he likes non-faculty members, and they may be a little more qualified, but we're talking middle school basketball. You know, I got overlooked because non-faculty is a little more qualified, but you didn't even give me a chance to show how qualified I could be. But that happened, and we slighted an employee of this school system and went with a non-faculty coach. Now, they didn't get compensated, and I'm not opposed that they get. That's what I'm saying. Drive home some criteria of what's got to be taking place before you give a non-faculty member a coaching job.
My concern with that would be, you said it was elementary school?
It was an elementary school employee who applied for a junior high.
All right, so my concern with that is that sometimes it's not necessarily an issue in high school, but in middle school and elementary school, you may not have people jumping at the, or let's just use middle school because you only get paid starting at middle school, correct? Okay. So if you have nobody that wants to coach basketball at New Prospect, and there's a teacher somewhere else that we say, hey, we're going to offer it to whatever, and they want to do it, but there is somebody, I don't know if it'd be a parent or somebody that the principal knows, hey, I know a good basketball coach, good guy, all the things that we can put in there. My concern with that, with doing it not that way is that we put less of an emphasis on, and again, this is going to sound terrible because I'm a sports person, so I'm just going to say it like I say it. Why would we want to get somebody maybe not qualified, maybe just says, hey, I'd like to do it because I'd like to get the additional money, all that stuff, when there's somebody more qualified to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I support that.
It wouldn't do me any good if say I'm a teacher and they wanted me to coach tennis. Listen, I'm not, and nobody else is doing it, but I'd like to have the money because it goes by real quick and I ain't got to spend much time. But yet there's somebody that's qualified that's non-faculty and they're doing it. To me, it doesn't make any sense other than to put the best person in that spot.
And that's, Mr. Rochelle, that is what I'm asking as a board that we do, or ask Michael to do, and I think that he does. There's some criteria that has to be met before the administration can go out and open it up to non-faculty. And that's all I'm saying is us as a board to be familiar and agree to and support that policy that says so and so. Because again, I don't want to back an administrator into a corner that says, hey, I've got an ex-former PGA pro golfer, or I can get John Daniel. Well, I mean, I couldn't,
Yeah.
you know.
But if John Daniel's a teacher and wants the job,
But,
that's,
right, but
that's what I'm
again,
saying.
where's the criteria? That's what I'm talking about. This
Right.
criteria. John Daniel, I'm an employee and want a job, but I don't meet the criteria to be that fulfill that role because I know nothing about golf.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Get that criteria out there
Yeah.
that says, no, we're not going to give you the job just because you're an employee. But I'm also, if you are an employee, and if you do have qualifications, if you are, you know, I grew up with you, I knew what kind of golfer you were. If you wanted, you got the credentials. You know, I'm not going, there may be somebody a little better than you, that was a little bit better golfer than you, but you're an employee, you are qualified. The school system should give you that job. Now, they may be, again, somebody a little more qualified, but they're out of the system. They're not an employee, you are.
Right.
I can't support passing you over just so I go get somebody who may be a little bit better, who's not in the system.
Are there any further questions? Go
Now,
ahead,
this-
Nikki.
To me, do you not have to trust the principal's decision on that?
Yes.
And the athletic director. I mean,
Call roll on the amendment. Go ahead and repeat it first.
The amendment is to add this request to the 23-24 school year.
Call roll.
Caruso.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Dryden.
yes.
Hartsfield.
Yes.
Nodert.
Yes.
Rochelle.
Yes.
Weathers.
Yes.
7 yes.
Please repeat the first amendment. First.
The
Motion,
motion,
yes.
the motion was to approve the request with the added amendment of adding it to the 23-24 school year.
Please call roll.
Weathers.
Yes.
Rochelle.
Yes.
Nodert.
Yes.
Hartsfield.
Yes.
Dryden.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Caruso.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries on both the amendment and the motion.
Chairman Caruso.
Go ahead.
Can I ask Director Atkins, can you pull out what we have written up, the criteria before it goes, you know, what we as a system, what our administrators go through before they,
Sure.
and present that to the board in the weekly pass downs and let us see what we're going by.
I will do that, and I will put together some ideas. I'll speak to a few of the principals and ADs, because they're going to have various opinions on it. I think when you have someone who might be highly skilled and understands the game, coaches the game, does not mean they're going to be a good fit for that school. There are things that those principals are going to take into account that we're not, because they understand it maybe a little differently from the interaction with kids, parents, a number of things that they're going to look at.
To you, Mr. Atkins, and to the rest of the board, I'm not trying to be difficult on any of this. I'm looking that we cover all of our bases and that we be fair to our employees. And then, and even further than that, we be fair to our kids and our students. You know, but I just want to make sure we look and cover everything in this regard.
Very well. Moving on to the final budget item to consideration, number 5, background screening system contracted with a vendor, and it is $14,000 per year. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Are there any questions regarding the background screening system? Who is that?
It will be with the state agency that does that.
Okay. Please call roll.
Questions, please.
Go ahead, John.
The school system's paying for the background screenings.
Yes, sir.
Am I mistaken to think that people who apply for a job in this system are not required to pay for their own background checks?
Most companies don't. Most companies pay for the employee to have it.
Because I think I'm going to follow up on that, because I believe I was told by a substitute that they had to pay for their own background check.
Now, is there a group that has to? I mean, the subs may.
The subs do,
'Cause, yeah.
but outside of that.
So wait a minute then, why in the name of everything that we do up here and we struggle with substitute teachers, why are we making them pay for the background check? Why are we not covering that?
Are they considered?
Historically, we've had a lot of substitutes that are never called upon. And so we would have a lot of expense that we never act on. Whether they're called upon and never show, or whether they just are never called upon, I couldn't tell you that for certain, but.
Nikki, you had a question?
Yeah, maybe I've had a mental lapse, but this background screening system, do we not already do background checks? Is this something different? I mean, I don't understand that.
So what this would do, Mr. Hartsfield, instead of us sending our people out to a vendor somewhere in the county, we would have the system here, and then they would come to us. We would manage that. We would supply that. We would pay through here. Right now, we're paying that outside vendor to conduct these, and their hours are limited in when our people can get there. So we need to bring it in-house. The system's here, train our people to administer the test, so it would be in-house.
So we're already paying to get that done?
Yeah, we're already doing that. Yes, sir. We're just trying to take that device that the vendor has, Hartsfield Real Estate, and instead of that, it being at the Lawrence County School System and our personnel, HR address that, deal with that.
That fee there, is that no matter how many background checks you do? Is that just
That right now is the fee in addition to what we would be paying, because we're going to be charged for the ones that we do not. We only get a certain number, 2,400 background checks. If we use all 2,400, we don't pay this $14,000. We just pay whatever the fee is for the background check. If we don't use those 2,400, we have to make up the difference of that 2,400. That makes sense to you. We're going to pay amount,
going to pay a certain amount?
and then if we don't use all of them, we've got to pay what we didn't use. We got to pay for what we didn't use.
So
The
most we're going to spend is $14,000, you say?
No, the most we would spend for not using right now is our number is $14,000, that we would not cover all 2,400 allotted background checks. They give you the number, 2,400. If you don't use 2,400, you pay the difference in what you used and what you didn't. So that right now is the 14,000. We're already paying for those background checks of 1,200 employees. We're already paying that. We've been paying that. We would pick up an additional 14,000 if we didn't use more. And that's just the state contract. We tried to negotiate with them, but this is what the state allows us to do.
So the advantage of this is just giving us time, or putting it on our time frame instead of our people having to go on their time.
Well, Mrs. Thompson and I have talked about it. We want to train multiple people and be able to say to a teacher, okay, you're teaching at Ingram Sal and you need to have a background check. We're going to make it available for you at 7:15. Swing by here tomorrow morning, we'll do that for you. Versus them saying, okay, I've got to leave class to run across town. I got to go from Summertown or Loretta to Lawrenceburg. We can manage that better for our people.
Now just out of curiosity, well, I can do that for another time.
Please call roll.
Caruso?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Dryden?
Yes.
Hartsfield?
Yes.
Nodert?
Yes.
Rochelle?
Yes.
Weathers?
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to personnel items. Under 1 ESL Assistant, Mr. Atkins.
Mr. Chairman, this is something I mentioned in my report of the growing population of ESL students, and we have, from time to time, we do attract some folks, and this is one of them that Mrs. Counts would like to have on staff to help service the students.
Move we approve.
Second.
Got a motion to approve in a second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 2, bus attendants at South Lawrence, Florida.
And, Mr. Chairman, this is just trying to fulfill what the board had asked the previous director and myself, is to provide our bus drivers with a bus attendant to assist them as they're dropping off kids, picking up kids. And so we have been able to attract a person, South Lawrence, which is needed in that area. And this is a current employee who will also take on being a bus attendant for us.
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion to approve in a second. Are there any questions?
Will they be riding on the bus?
Yes, sir.
Or a bus?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, policy items.
Make a motion to approve policy 5.303 and 5.310.
We got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve policy 5.303 and 5.310. Are there any questions regarding these policies? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, other items for consideration. Under A, spring sports schedule.
Mr. Chairman, I would just, you have all that information. Our athletic directors at the schools have gotten that out to us. I just remind you, as games are changed due to rain, illness, whatever, you've given me the authority the board has to make those calls to allow teams to leave early to go to a game, even to make up a game, what have you. I just want to remind the board that that could happen with spring sports, more than it will happen with spring sports than it does anything else. I just wanted to share that with you.
And moving on to item B, our next board meeting will be February 15th at 5:30, unless we have any other. Oh, we do have to approve that one? Okay, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to approve spring sports schedule?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any questions? I apologize. Any questions for spring sports schedule? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And moving on to B, February 15th at 5:30. Unless there's another major weather event in the county, we will have it at February 15th. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
And overtime.
I have kind of shit. Get paid overtime, I do.
We'll put my overtime paycheck.
There you go. That'll be in the mail.
Time and a half.
I'll approve it.
Yes, and all right, here's yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice seeing you again. Good job.
Thanks, sir.
Good job. See you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I don't get you started.
Yes, sir. Hey, you should have gotten that email. Good deal.
So, if it would have been, if he had wanted to bring it, nobody knows, you know, I get that, but if he says, because I know he's part, if he is, I'm going to get part of the assistant coach. To me, that's, now, don't get me wrong, I understand what they can.
Bag up all them goodies.
Yeah, that's right, don't want to leave any goodies around.
Where's my goodies?
I didn't get any goodies, there was nothing on my house.
There was nothing right here. Nothing.
Yeah, you take care, good job.
I think that bag was supposed to be sitting right here. Just teasing you.
Hey.
He doesn't all what I need you to do, never cut back road, not what I need you to do.
Okay.
I agree with that. But at the same time,
What day is it?
I think I stand so much on the side of, I think it's just as important to have good coaches. Not only are they